Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Alanna Fox Starks. Hey guys, so I don't know exactly what the plan was with the Schumann resonance. With it seemed to be like it was extremely strong on the 17th, and it was really super calm. And then it seemed to be kind of all over the map, and then all of a sudden, a pattern started to emerge that, well, at least for me, was a little bit shocking, right? Okay, so we had a peak of, let's see here, 22, was it? Well, it had, on the 26th, it reached 13. 13 is a number of death, and we've been seeing the number 13 quite a bit lately. Today's the 31st. The mirror image of 31 is 13. That's going to come in handy in a few minutes when I tell you something super mind-blowing. But first, we're going to cover the Schumann resonance news. So, after the 13, it was kind of around, it went up and then it went up, it was like 56 and 25, and, you know, and so everything took place between 4 and 10, 56, 25, la, la, la. Okay. So the pattern that started to emerge was on the 28th, it was 33. On the 29th, it was 44 hertz. And on the 30th, it was 55 hertz. And now today, it went up to 68 hertz, but I have a feeling 68 year I was born. Woohoo! Shout out to 1968. So okay, so I think it went up to 66. So, and then it just probably went from there to 68. So they reported it was at the very peak of it at 68. So probably when it went up to 25, it had probably went to 22. The day before was 13, probably went through, so obviously went through 11. But it really started to emerge around 33, then 44, then 55. I'm wondering tomorrow if it won't be 77, just to be honest with you. You know, but it was 68. So this is what it says. Practically calm, max peak was 17 hertz at 1:45 UTC time. That was a morning report. Afternoon report, we can see this massive increase in activity that started at 19 UTC, and that suddenly after first initial peak at 27 hertz reached the maximum at 68 hertz. Seems now that the amplitude is back down to normal levels, which, as you know, is 7.83. Baseline is 7.83. So it went up to 68 hertz today. Did you guys feel it in the evening? Wow. Right? Just wow. So, pretty cool and interesting. So I'm going to tell you guys something now that I did not want to tell you. I don't want to bring it up or tell you. But God is insisting I tell you, so it's kind of a little bit weird and embarrassing, but I'm famous in a way. Not just with the animals, but if any of you were here on Earth in the very beginning, you know me. Because I'm from the very beginning of this schematic. Makes sense I'm here at the end as well, right? So, trying to look up something here. There we go. I'm going to try to clear this up for you in just a moment. But I didn't know any of this, right, until I was in Guatemala, and this angel in the appearance of a man who wasn't just an appearance angel. He was like flesh and blood man. He told me that I know him, and he's like, you know me because, and I know you because we were angels together in the very beginning of this schematic. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you smoking, Chet? Well, I knew what he's smoking. I was his, never mind. It's just a whole thing. I'm the one that gave it to him. So anyway, he was this guy that everywhere he went, he wore white, but he was homeless, but his clothes never really looked dirty. At least not when he's around me. Sometimes he wore a robe. No one knows where the hell he got it. It looked like an old ancient robe that everyone assumes Jesus wore. And he wore sandals like Jesus. It's really, 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 really pissed off my boyfriend, which is hilarious. He's always screaming at him about looking like Jesus and you're a freaky hippie. No wonder no one takes you seriously. And everyone took him seriously, but, not everyone, but I mean, no one took my boyfriend seriously, who was a completely ridiculous human being, but at the time. But I had been told by God that I needed to come and be with this person for like 3 months to help him believe in God, which I've mentioned a couple times. Well, this angel who showed up, his name literally was Melchizedek, and he said, I have to talk to you privately. So when your boyfriend's not here, we're going to talk. And so he pulled me to the side one day when my boyfriend was gone, and he said, this is the deal. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but I'm an angel of the Lord and I'm in human form. And I was sent to support emotionally and spiritually you and your family and your boyfriend specifically, because we have to get him to believe in God and change the pattern and course and direction of his life. And I'm like, well, I work for God and I'm in his life. I'm only his girlfriend because God told me to be his girlfriend, because that's how I was going to influence him so that he believes in God again and he changes his life again. Because he was not going down a good road and he had potential. And at that time in my early years working for God, I had the lovely task of finding people that were middle roaders, and I forced their hand in a way that they would turn good or bad, where they're going to make their ultimate decision. I watched a man go complete evil. I saw his eyes turn 100% black. And I watched as he absolutely went down that bad, dark path. I mean, he had been in and out of jail. He was a drug dealer. Sold me some really crappy weed. He was a bad drug dealer. It would have been a good one if he'd given me just the best weed ever, but it was okay, but anyway. But he was an okay person, but he's like a middle of the roader, and he wasn't really, kind of angry at God type of person. But my task was to get him to believe in God. So I would go and sit with him for hours. He had no idea why the hell I was near him. It confused the hell out of him, but I just sat there and did Ho'oponopono. And I'm sad to say, and a little bit ashamed to say, that he's one of the ones I lost. But in the ultimate decision, even if an angel is by your side, it's always your decision anyway, to be right with God or not, to believe in yourself or not, and to tap into your divine power or not. And I had to break up a fight between him and my boyfriend, a physical fight, and he ended up punching me in the head. And I pushed him off, my boyfriend, and I pushed him in the middle of the road, and I said, this ends now. You're either going to stop and you're going to listen to me, or this is over. And I said that, and his eyes turned black. The whites, everything, black. And you know how when a light can shine off of somebody's eyes and it looks like there's like white flecks and it's reflecting the light, from street lights and whatever in someone's eyes. All of that was gone. He became like a dead, vacuous space inside his body. And I felt him kind of almost turn cold and evil. And I said, you are no longer my charge. He didn't know what the hell I meant, but I just was like, okay, God. And God said, that's it. This guy's done. And I said a prayer in Arabic. And I grabbed my boyfriend and we got the hell out of there. And the guy started screaming to the police to run after us and catch us. We have drugs. We're horrible people. And no one cared about weed. Like the cops would take your weed and then ask you for money and shake you down, take all your money, and then give you back your weed because they don't care. It's Guatemala. They're like, we don't care. They didn't care about the laws. They just needed to eat. So they go shake down the tourists. And God protected us that night because my boyfriend had a couple joints in his bag. I had some loose leaf weed that had fallen out of a baggie earlier. And the cops inspected his bag, shone the flashlight directly on the weed, and said, we don't see anything. And I think they went and arrested the other guy that had just turned bad. And God protected us that night. I mean, I would have given the cops money. They needed to eat anyway, but they're volunteers there. They don't get paid. So I found out later. I didn't even know at that moment. But anyway, so all this craziness, and I don't ever involve myself with crazy people like this, but it was my time. I was kind of cutting my teeth on the Godwork, This is my early years with it. Later on, a couple, weeks later, I was in the center of Quetzaltenango, holding a heroin addict in my arms while he cried and told me how his parents died. And that's how I spent my Christmas, was comforting a heroin addict who wasn't homeless, but he didn't go home because his mom and dad were dead and he didn't want to go home to an empty house on Christmas. And he had planned on overdosing on heroin and killing himself that night. And instead he ended up crying his heart out, putting his head on my chest, and I rocked him back and forth like he was my own baby for like an hour. And I helped him cry it out and get it out, counseled him in Spanish and a little bit in French, and tried doing English. And he said, I speak perfect English, but I will never, because it was the American government that killed my parents, sent them to Afghanistan as soldiers, and they died for a senseless war. So that was part of my work, was in the early days, was with the dark energies of Guatemala. I worked with a lot of dark things, getting them out, moving them around, getting people more up into the light, getting more people to believe in God, to believe in themselves, to get them out of their head. And one of my charges I lost, the other ones I saved, but you can't save them all. You can't win all of them. And like I said, in the end, it's your own personal responsibility. So back to Melchizedek, I'm sitting with him in the Pachamama, which means Mother Earth, hostel. We're sitting there, and the only one accompanying us was a rooster, who I ended up eating later. I didn't know until after I ate him. Like, wait a minute, where's a rooster? And the owner of the hostel's like, he just started laughing. He pointed to the bone on my plate. I went, oh my God, I felt so guilty. That little bastard had woken me up every single morning at 5 or 6 in the morning. And I told him every day, don't wake me up. And he'd come to my window specifically to wake me up. But that day, he was still alive back then. And Melchizedek and I spoke in the presence of the rooster. And he was with us. He was our only witness to this. But Melchizedek told me, back in the beginning of the schematic, Alanna, you were the original angel of death. And I was an original angel as well. And we were sent to help humanity, and we helped humanity as angels. But the Lucifer rebellion occurred, and Lucifer fell to earth and decided to take a bunch of angels with him, and they all went with him, and they all fell to earth. And you and I fell to earth at that time. I'm like, oh my God, we're demons though? And he's like, no, God told us to, requested that we become human and fall to earth on purpose so that we can keep an eye on Lucifer and all of his demons, all the angels that were fallen for their own hubris, their own pride. Pride cometh before a fall, they say. Maybe that's where that came from. Well, all right, fine. So I came here to earth as a helper of mankind, and I became a human, and then I went through all the human stuff that all the humans do, and I'm just like everyone else now. But I was the original angel of death. And I know the angel of death now, he and I are friends, and he comes, in ethereal form. I don't see him, but he has accompanied me on 5 journeys to the other side in which I had near-death experiences. And I started all of my death work as a result of my first near-death experience, where I started to be able to tell when people were going to die, if they were close to it, about when and about from what. And it started to freak me out, obviously. But in my astrological chart, I have 9 planets in Virgo in the house of sex and death. Which makes me obsessed with death and probably points to the fact that I'm the angel of death. And also, I became a sex therapist as well. So my fate was sealed from the moment I was born, and with those crazy planets. But the thing is, when he told me this, well, first off, I thought, oh, this guy's crazy. He's out of his freaking mind. I had no idea he was so crazy. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, oh, crap. Even in my chart, it says death, 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 death. I have like 9 planets in the house of death. Jeez. Yeah, okay, that does make sense. And then he's like, well, do your eyes ever turn 100% black? That'd be because you're the angel of death. I have pictures on my Facebook. Add me as a friend, Alanna Fox Starks. My actual, right now, my square for my name, next to my name is black. It's my protest against the current president regime, but in the U.S. But I have several pictures. I'm like, hey, look, I'm an alien again, haha, thinking it's just crappy camera, but my eyes are like black. 100%, no whites, just solid black. Like that guy in like my charge, he looked like that. So it was almost like when I said I'm done with you and you're no longer my charge, it's almost like I gave my angel of deathiness to him and somehow marked him. It was kind of scary. I didn't do it on purpose. By the way, the angel of death never kills anybody. I'm not creating death for everybody, but I just help everyone to the next level, to the next world. That's what I was doing. And that's what I do in my nighttime when I ask God at night, hey, how can I help? And then I ended up working in death and in the death industry, the heaven death industry. And then going over, taking people over. And I'm a psychic medium. Now all I do is I help spirits cross over. Well, tonight, you guys, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to blow you away. I'm going to read. Don't always do this because I'm not Christian, and even though I am an ordained minister and I am a doctor of divinity, I'm going to see if I could read this to you. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in the New Testament, book of Revelations. It says that there will be, in the Christian version or whatever, apocalyptic version or vision that the person who wrote Revelations had, he saw that there are 4 horsemen, 4 riders. They are symbolized as pestilence. Did I not just tell you about the Holy Land and all the pestilence and the locusts in Israel a few days ago? It's not the only place it's happened, but, you know. Also, the frogs. Oh, the poisonous toads in Florida. And then famine. Did I not tell you about my friend in the Gambia who is feeding the orphans? He just started a GoFundMe page, and I did put it on my Facebook page so people could donate to the orphans. Oh, and war. There's war all over, you know. And death are the four horsemen. The four horsemen are to set a divine apocalypse upon the world as harbingers of the last judgment. Well, the white horse and the red horse and the black horse have already ridden. And behold, a pale horse. When the Lamb broke the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, "Come." I looked, and behold, an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death. And Hades was following with him. Authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence and by the wild beasts of the earth. So basically, unlike the other three, the fourth horseman, horsewoman in this case, the four horsemen all have a weapon, except Death does not carry a weapon. Death carries with him, or is followed by, Hades, which is the resting place of the dead. Also, he's a god, lord of the underworld, if you want to listen to Greek mythology. And says that, I'm commonly depicted carrying a scythe like the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper, that's what I call him. I call him Harry. He's my friend Harry. Well, you guys, in the color of my horse, it says is pale. Well, did I ride up on a horse? I did not. But my son, who's born under the Chinese astrology sign of the horse, accompanied me. And yes, I did ask for, the angels and Hades to be with me and all that. But you guys, I've been carrying this for like a week. This weird energy. I kept saying that my bones were vibrating and my back was hurting. And then I asked God, what is this? And God said, well, of course, it's your sword. I'm like, my sword, it seems like it's sticking in my body. And he said, yes, your sword is in your body. I'm like, well, tell me about the sword. In meditation, God said, the sword is a crystalline sword. On the 31st of March, you are to plunge it into the earth. Do a little ceremony, plunge it into the earth. And thereby, that will be the final blow of the complete end of the schematic. I'm like, wait, man. I'm one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And he said, yes, you are to open the final portal. I'm like, 2. He says the 5th dimension. The 3rd dimension will start to break up shortly after that. Everyone will go to the 5th after that. The ones that are supposed to go. We're done, guys. We're done. I've been saying it. I've been feeling it. But over the past 3 or 4 days, I've known about the sword in my side. I did it at 11:44 Ecuadorian time at a crossroads, which is where the underworld usually joins the world of the living. But I did crossroads at the side of 2 rivers. Because my little creek, remember I told you about my creek that turned into a creek? Now it's a full-blown river because of all the rain. Well, I did it. I plunged my crystalline sword. I took it out of my back, plunged it into the earth like I was instructed to do by the one will, the divine. And he told me to tell you guys about it. I didn't want to bring it up. I know this whole story sounds completely nuts. But since I've done it, my back actually, I don't have as much pain as I did. I feel a lot better. I felt Mother Earth Gaia rejoice. Oh, she's so happy. She's free. By that action I took tonight, Mother Earth Gaia is free. She is done with the third dimension. Now we're all moving on up. I asked God to show me a sign on the way home that I know I did it right. I was met with a cat that looked like 2 cats combined that I had when I was in my 20s. This cat ran up to me, rubbed itself on my leg, and wrapped around me, went around, walked around me in a circle like a cat shaman twice. And then did the same thing to my son, my horse, my pale horse, who accompanied me, the angel of death, to do the final blow for the end of the schematic. I had to close it out. I was here in the beginning as death, and I'm here at the end as death. And I came with a sword, and what did Jesus say? When I will come to this world again, will be with a sword in my hand. Well, I plunged a sword into the rock, and maybe perhaps Jesus will be the one to pick up the sword again. It was a rainbow crystalline sword, and like King Arthur pulling a sword from a stone because he's pure of heart, the only one that can remove it is Jesus, Brother Yeshua. And the only way that we could bring him back into the world is to, well, pretty much bring about the apocalypse or the end of the world. It's all very symbolic, and God told me, promised me that I'm not about to start a bunch of cataclysms, thank God. It's going to be a very gentle and loving transition. We're all okay. Everything is okay. In my angelness, I assure you that everything is okay. So, I don't know, this is insane news, but it's news. Big news. It's huge news. I had no idea that this was going to happen when I was born in this life. Like, I don't think I knew. I think that even for me, this was a surprise. In fact, even tonight, I did not even know the hour. God just said, do it on the 31st. And I didn't even know what time I was going to do this. I kept thinking maybe I'll do it, before the sun goes down or right after the sun goes down. And maybe I'll get it done around 7. 7 is God's number. Maybe. And then all these things happened. Someone was over. I had to order food for my oldest kid in California. All these things happened, and everything led to another. And it was approaching 11. I'm like, I'm going to do it at 11:11. Oh, but I needed my last cup of coffee, and I had to go to the bathroom. And now all of a sudden it's 11:22 when I left the house. I left the house at 11:22 and walked, but it was so muddy and so crazy. And where I was supposed to do it was cordoned off by all this construction they're suddenly doing. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're putting in a bike path, down by the river. So I had to do it at a different place. And by the time I got to that place, by the time I said my prayers and called in my angels and connected with my spiritual team and with God, by the time I got to it, it literally was 11:44. So the world did not go out with a bang. It went out with a whimper. All of my back started going back into place. All the pain started releasing from my back when I did it. I feel good. I feel great. I feel actually calm. I hope you guys feel that energy. I love each and every one of you, and we're not going to just all die or something. It's not about that. We are all ascending, and we're being lifted up. Brother Yeshua, I believe, is coming back now, and he will be helping each and every one of us. And I don't know what's going to happen, but when I did that, when I plunged the sword into the earth, in my mind's eye, I saw the energy of light of God. A huge portal opened up and went to the center of the planet, and it was almost like all of the holes and portals that everyone had been opening up, just the light would start streaming out in every direction. And all the dross is burning up right now from the light I helped to put into the earth. Not just me, though. And I don't want to take credit. I'm only an instrument for God. And there's 144,000 before me. And I'm in the second wave of 144,000. And there's 144,000 waking up right now. We are all coming up. We're all coming up together. Well, God has spoken. And behold, death came along with the pale horse. And I was given a blessing by a little angel kitty, little shamanic kitty. And 4 dogs barked at me on the way home. 4 dogs. That's the number of death. 4 is death in, it symbolizes death in Chinese feng shui. Don't ever buy a house where the address adds up to 4, because you'll never be able to sell it and you'll always feel dead and stagnant. But today was the 31st. 3 + 1 = 4. Backwards is 13. 13 is the card of death in the tarot. And we reached 66 hertz, but not quite. It was 68 hertz, which is good. And 6 + 8 is 14, the day after death, right? Or the one after death, which is temperance, where the angel comes now and will bathe us with the water. We'll be baptized in the water, which could mean our subconscious is being swept clean, as if it's in a river, but also on the land where we'll be very grounded. But because he's an angel, his consciousness still reaches to heaven, as will ours. And I don't mean any of this in a religious way. Please understand. I work for God independent of religion, even though God told me to become a Muslim for a while, and I did. And I still identify as a Muslim, but I'm not a religious person. I am a hereditary witch. I am the angel of death. I am a light worker and a way shower. And I came to serve God by helping all of humanity. Everything is ready and everything is done. And now I'm just waiting for my twin flame to come around and be in my life and just enjoy a simple, beautiful, loving life together. I don't care if we make a crap ton of money or if we make movies together. I mean, I'm a screenwriter. I'm hoping he's in the industry. I don't care if we live out in the countryside and never talk to another soul. You know, whatever my life holds for me, it's all up to God anyway. But I did my biggest part right now tonight. I'm still going to continue Metaphysical Soul Speak, and tomorrow, coming up, we have Jean Brannon, who wrote a book called Atlantis Writhing. And it's pretty interesting. She's an acupuncturist and very spiritual, definitely a light worker. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia. I found out finally. She's on the East Coast, and she's 1 hour ahead of me. I did not know because of daylight savings time. The East Coast is now 1 hour ahead of me. I forgot about daylight savings time. We don't do that in Ecuador. But I had to tell you that. It's a really crazy heavy confession. But I did not know I was going to be the death on a horse. I always kind of felt like it, but I'm like, it's too weird and arrogant to think I'm the 4th horseman. I honestly, God didn't even tell me until a couple days ago, and I didn't even know the hour. Remember when he said you'll never know Jesus said you'll never know the day or the hour in which the world will end. Well, the third dimension, that was the end of it. Probably we're all in the fifth right now. Or will be very soon. God said he'll be gentle, he promised me, and told me to tell everyone, don't panic, don't worry. Everything is very gentle. So, when I come back after this message, I'm going to talk about the 100th Monkey Effect. Another thing I am is a monkey. I was actually born under the Chinese astrological sign of the monkey. So, pretty cool, right? Anyway. We're going to talk about the 100th monkey. I'm going to read a little excerpt from Ken Key's book, and then I'm just going to have a discussion. I'm going to discuss with you guys, what does that mean to us as light workers? It was originally written about nuclear war, this book. Excellent book. But when you apply it to what's going on, what just happened tonight? Maybe what I did tonight was the 100th Monkey Effect. Only time will tell. Only God knows. So don't think of it as I just ended the world, please. I'm only doing what God told me. It's God who just does that, not me, by the way. I'm just the harbinger. But, I'm just the messenger. Angels, we're only messengers. Don't shoot us, please. Don't shoot the angels. We're the messengers. But at the same time, just understand that this had to happen in order for Brother Yeshua or the next Christ to come in. And we just brought upon us heaven on earth. We did it, guys. If you're listening to this message, you're my soul family. You're my soul tribe. Don't let any of this disturb or upset you, because we're now in the light. We did it. Your way is being made clear. It is being made easy. Everything from this point forward, in an even bigger way than just yesterday. So when I come back, I'm going to talk to you about the 100th Monkey Effect. And tomorrow, life goes on, more beautiful and better than ever, when we talk about Atlantis writhing with Jean Brannon. Dr. Jean Brannon, she's an acupuncturist, and they're doctors of Chinese medicine. And we have more things coming up this week. I think dream interpretation is in order for Tuesday. They teach you how to interpret your own dreams. What do they mean? So, all this is coming up. We have a lot to look forward to. Anyway, I love you guys very much, and I'll be right back after this. Hey you, have you ever thought about having your own podcast like me? Was it even a New Year's resolution? For me, it sure was. But as I've been looking into this for months, I was daunted. There's so many questions I had. When I was trying to get this off the ground, I was wondering, how do I record the episode? How do I get it across all the platforms? How do I get my podcast on Apple Podcasts when I don't even have an iPhone? How do I get it onto Spotify and all the other places? How do I get people to listen? And how do I make money from my podcast? How do I edit it? Oh my God, I had all these questions, and I was so confused until I discovered the simple answer is Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free, and it is ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. All you need to do is record it. You don't have to go out and look for people to advertise on your show. They help you. So basically what I like about podcasting is I don't have to have a video of myself. You don't know if my hair is dirty or if I'm still in my pajamas or even if I'm wearing makeup. Haha. And it's so easy. I could do this from the comfort of my own home in my living room using this amazing app right from my cell phone. So easy, right? So if you've always wanted to start your own podcast and make money, by the way, doing it, please go to anchor.fm/start. That is anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters that are already using Anchor. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to favorite you. Woohoo! Let's be broadcast podcast buddies. I'll see you there. The 100th Monkey by Ken Keyes Jr. I appreciate your letting me share the drama of our megaton madness with you. This book does not deal with petty matters. It tells how to operate our lives and our world. It tells us how to stay alive. The mess we've brought upon ourselves is the most perilous and challenging one. The broad picture pieced together here will show you the immensity of the nuclear dangers, the futility of any defense or protection, the power of the new awareness, and your role in the unfolding drama. There is a phenomenon I'd like to tell you about. In it may lie our only hope of a future for our species. Here is the story of the 100th monkey. The Japanese monkey Macaca fuscata has been observed in the wild for a period of over 30 years. In 1952, on the island of Koshima, scientists were providing monkeys with sweet potatoes dropped in the sand. The monkeys liked the taste of the raw sweet potatoes, but they found the dirt unpleasant. An 18-month-old female named Emo found she could solve the problem in a nearby stream. She taught this trick to her mother. Her playmates also learned the new way, and they taught their mothers too. The cultural innovation was gradually picked up by various monkeys before the eyes of scientists. Between 1952 and 1958, all the young monkeys learned to wash the sandy sweet potatoes to make them more palatable. Only the adults who imitated their children learned the social improvement. Other adults kept eating the dirty sweet potatoes. Then something startling took place. In the autumn of 1958, a certain number of Koshima monkeys were washing sweet potatoes. The exact number is not known. Let us suppose that when the sun rose one morning and there were 99 monkeys on Koshima Island who had learned to wash their sweet potatoes. And let us further suppose that later that morning, the 100th monkey learned how to wash sweet potatoes. Then it happened. By that evening, almost everyone in the tribe was washing sweet potatoes before eating them. The added energy of this 100th monkey somehow created an ideological breakthrough. But notice, a most surprising thing observed by these scientists was that the habit of washing sweet potatoes then jumped over the sea. Colonies of monkeys on other islands and the mainland troop of monkeys at Takasakiyama began washing their sweet potatoes. Okay, in parentheses it says, Life Tide by Lyle Watson, pages 147 to 148 of Bantam Books, 1980. This book gives this book gives other fascinating details. Back in parentheses. Okay. Thus, when a certain critical number achieves an awareness, this new awareness may be communicated from mind to mind. Although the exact number may vary, the 100th monkey phenomenon means that when only a limited number of people know of a new way, it may remain the consciousness property of these people. But there is a point at which, if only one more person tunes into a new awareness, a field is strengthened so that this awareness is picked up by almost everyone. Your awareness is needed in saving the world from nuclear war. You may be the 100th monkey. You may furnish the added consciousness energy to create the shared awareness of the urgent necessity to rapidly achieve a nuclear-free world. If I knew then what I know now, I never would have helped to develop the bomb, spoke George Kistiakowsky, an advisor to President Eisenhower, who worked on the Manhattan Project. All right, so I'm not going to read the entire book because the rest of this is about nuclear war and a bunch of stuff that happens in relationship to nuclear war. But that part I wanted to get across to you because, as I just mentioned in the introduction, the beginning part of this, I told you guys that we are now literally in the end. The final thing has been done. The final act. Oh God, the final act of our stage play, as it were. It's okay though. What we need to do now as the 144,000 is we need to expand our conscious awareness of the fifth dimension and beyond. If we could go higher, let's go higher than that. Let's focus on bringing about the heaven on earth. Earth is changing. Tonight, Mother Earth Gaia is dancing. She's singing. She's singing with joy. Because she has been released. That's right. This is it. So we need to take the idea of this story, and this isn't 100% exactly how it happened. Most of it was that the monkeys communicated with each other and that they eventually somehow communicated. But I think that it is true that the information and knowledge did jump across the sea, and I think that the monkeys all picked up on it. The same way that so many people, thousands of us, picked up on this here ascension that y'all are going through. The ascension that we're all going through. We all figured it out kind of on our own, didn't we? Did we not? We all somehow got that telepathic lightning rod striking us from the etheric realms into our mind, and we're like, wait a minute, I feel real strange right now. I'm having ringing in my ears. I'm sleeping every other day. You know, meat eaters suddenly are vegetarians. Long-term vegetarians are suddenly vegans. Some of them, even vegans, I think, even went back to eating meat. A couple of them probably did, right? Everyone's diet changed radically. I know mine did. And I started looking it up. The first thing I started looking up was my long-term boyfriend had broken up with me over a really, really stupid reason. I met a 16-year-old boy at a party who was the same age as my oldest son at the time. And I asked him if he would be interested in playing guitar with my son. my oldest kid. Because my oldest kid, whoo boy, he shreds on guitar. He plays all kinds of music, but punk rock is his specialty. He's really good at it. He's good at all of it. He does covers, but he does mostly, God, he's probably written 1,000 songs in his short career so far. He just cut his first single like 6 months ago. It's not out though. I mean, no one can really hear it yet, but he did it. But it's like a super, super simple thing. I was at a party and my boyfriend said, here, talk to this guy for a while because I have some things to do. And it was a party at his house. He wasn't in charge of the party, but he was in charge of he was doing the DJ. He was a music. He's a sound producer and engineer. So he makes me talk to this guy who is a serious schizophrenic. So the whole time I'm talking to the serious schizophrenic who's telling me about all the demons that are everywhere that he can see. And then he says, oh, look, there's one climbing in your window. And I'm like, oh, man. And I just kind of knew, my heart sunk. I'm like, something really bad. Like if my boyfriend and I end up in my bedroom tonight, it's going to be a massive fight. We're going to end up breaking up. Did you hear? There goes my boyfriend. That was good timing. Woohoo. So I just kind of had a feeling, and I'm like, oh, God, my heart sank. I'm like, all right, well, this karmic relationship is over. This blows, right? And he's not my twin. I knew he wasn't my twin at the time, but I mean, when you're in a relationship, even if you know it's not going to be forever, you kind of still hope it works out. So it's one of those things. Well, anyway, so the schizophrenic just filled my ears all these stories of demons, and then oh, look, there's one climbing in that window up there. I'm like, you mean my bedroom? Yeah, thanks. All right. So I just was like, what? And my boyfriend came back, whoa, you okay? I'm like, why did you make me talk to a guy who can't stop talking about demons? And he started laughing so hard. He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, he's always talking about devils and demons. And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, well, he's schizophrenic. He's crazy. I'm like, right. Everyone else here is, not crazy. Why do you set me the crazy one? Like, because apparently he's jealous and thought maybe I'd cheat on him with someone who wasn't crazy. But I don't know. The whole thing was ridiculous, obviously. But anyway, so I ended up meeting this woman who introduced me to her nephew. And her nephew was the same age as my kid. And I asked him, hey, do you want to maybe play guitar with my kid? And he's like, sure. And then he was extremely drunk and he stumbled forward and he fell against me and he started laughing and he couldn't get his balance. And I was like trying to help him up and called his aunt over and we're both trying to help him up. But from the angle of the yard in which my boyfriend was standing, all he saw was I apparently look like I'm cuddling with another man. And I told him, look, sorry, I'm not trying to date a 16-year-old here. I am trying to help him up. And I told him to stop drinking. And he stumbled into me because he was so drunk. And, well, he didn't believe it. We get up to my house. The fight continued and continued. And then he said, that's it. We're over. Like, how convenient. A week before Christmas, didn't have to buy me a gift or anything. It's possible he is a narcissist. I'm not sure, but it's possible. Or he's autistic, I don't know. But what was he thinking? I don't know. But the demon, he broke us up, I guess. Or maybe it's just my boyfriend being dumb. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But that insane scenario, that was my catalyst. I had to leave the very next day to go to Ecuador so I could renew my visa for Peru. And if I had only had a few days extra warning, I probably would have packed up everything and just left for Ecuador, period, at that time. But I still had a lease on my apartment. He had my keys. He was going to watch all my stuff, even though he had just broken up with me. And luckily, he was a trustworthy individual, and he did a good job watching my stuff and wrote me and said, hey, your stuff's fine. Like every few days, took pictures of the apartment for me. Really good. At least on that level, he was a good person. But anyway, plus I think my apartment was warmer. So I think I had candles and a heater, and Lima's pretty cold. Half the year it's very cold, half the year it's hot. But because of the way he was acting and all the stuff he'd done, I started looking up his behavior online. Maybe I could find some kind of insight. That's when I started learning about empaths and narcissists and the dance they do together, and how it really, really sucks. And when empaths become awakened, then that means they can learn and grow and never attract another man like that that's going to abuse them emotionally and psychological ways, and no more gaslighting. But I started looking up awakened empaths, and I started looking up awakening. And I don't know, before too long, it took maybe 48 hours, 72 hours. Next thing I know, I saw a video about the Ascension. And I'm like, oh my God, holy crap. And then I saw earth changes and pole shift and ascension flu and ascension symptoms and the fifth dimension and 5D, and we're going to 5D, we're going to fifth dimension. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, that was in December. Let's see now. This is December of 2016 when I realized I was on the Ascension path. Now, I knew in 1987 I was on a spiritual path. I knew that harmonic convergence means someday we're going to usher in the age of Aquarius. We're going to usher in heaven on earth. I knew it was going to happen. I knew the earth changes were coming. I knew the pole shift was going to happen. But I did not, somehow, I missed the words ascension until my boyfriend broke up with me because of the demon and the schizophrenic guy. So a schizophrenic man and a demon helped me break up with my boyfriend and led to my awareness of the Ascension. So yay for the demon, yay for the schizophrenic guy, yay for my narcissistic abusive boyfriend. Because it all led me to this. So yay, And even though we were in a fight and I was really mad at him and he had just broken my heart and broke up with me, I wrote to him and I said, look, before I come home, before I see you again, I really need you to start looking up Ascension flu. And I was telling him all this in Spanish. He didn't even speak English. So I'm like, look it up. I'm sure there's teachers in Spanish. So he started looking it up. By the time I got back from Ecuador and I'm back in Lima, two things had happened. One, he became extremely aware of the Ascension and he became obsessed. So I helped wake him up on this. And the second thing is, he was my next door neighbor. He's the one that got me my apartment right next door to his apartment. And so we were always in and out of each other's homes and lives. Well, while I was gone, he moved to another part of town, another part of that section of town, but didn't tell me for 4 to 6 weeks where he was moving to. I suppose I shouldn't be terribly upset by that because the mother of his child, who is, now 4, still does not know to this very day where he lives and has never been to his house. Not once. He is a very distrusting. He does not trust anybody. So at least he trusted me even after he broke up with me. 4 to 6 weeks later, he still trusted me enough to be like, okay, I'm going to show you where I live and I want to be friends with you. And so now we're just friends. But all that led to my awareness of the Ascension. More and more and more. And it led me to more deeper insights about relationships and about all kinds of stuff. So, I don't know. I just felt for me, this opened up a whole new world, right? And then I started realizing that there's thousands and thousands of people, watching these videos. Well, now there's hundreds of thousands of people. And we're all becoming more and more and more aware. There's, I'm listed as one of the top 33 podcasts in the metaphysical category to watch out for 2019. And that was on Player FM. And I thought that was pretty interesting because I never, when I first started Metaphysical Soul Speak 6 years ago, there was nothing. As far as I know, I did not see anything metaphysical or spiritual, maybe spiritual stuff, like religious/spiritual stuff, and maybe like more along the lines of law of attraction. Ho'oponopono was popular. It still is, of course. And so is obviously, LOA is always popular. Law of attraction. I mean, obviously, What the Bleep Do We Know and The Secret and all those movies had been out for a while. But there was nothing really along the lines of what I do. And I felt like I was a voice shouting into the wind. And so now that I've picked up my show again and reformulated it, and now I'm a podcast and not just a radio show airing once a week with one replay and no archives. Now you could just go download every single one of my shows, have it for yourself, have it for your very own. You can own it. It's free. It goes on your iPad or your iPod or your cell phone, your Android, your computer, wherever you want it. You can listen to it again and again and again for free forever. I mean, if you download it and save it, then somebody has it saved, And it's really interesting how much the world has changed in just 6 years. I was going to start this radio show on the internet radio, and the internet, what I was looking at was, I think it was like USA, United States, or America, something, America Radio Network, or the USA, I think it was the American or America Radio Network. And when I told them it would be in the spiritual/religious category, they said, that's great. We don't have hardly anyone in that category. Then when I proposed to them what I was going to do, they were like, no, we can't have that. That's nothing like anything else we have. We don't think our listeners would be interested. Maybe if you have another idea for a different kind of show, let us know. But right now, no. Flat out. It's a hard no. I was like, okay, then. I mean, they had approached me in the beginning because of some stuff I had written in my blogs, and they said that I would be a good candidate to have a radio show if I have a nice voice. I'm like, I do. I'm a hypnotherapist, and hypnotherapists, we have to have lovely voices. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, great. And then I proposed it to him, and he's like, no, no. Pretty weird. I've been rejected by a lot of things. I was even rejected by witchschool.com many years ago. I can't even remember what proposal I gave them. It was probably for meditation or something, but it was metaphysical related, and they were like, no, hard no, hard pass. It was like weird. It was like, I don't remember even what I did, but I know I gave a very professional, it was just to teach one class at their online school. And they've been around for a long time, even before Harry Potter, so they were always around. And I'm a lifetime member. I didn't hold it against them. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not ready, or maybe my material wasn't 100% right fit for them. But they just didn't get back to me. They didn't say yes or no. They just literally ignored my email. I'm like, whoa. It was weird, but it wasn't until I found Raven International, and that's, I was introduced by a girlfriend of mine who gave me Raven's personal phone number, and she said she's getting up there. She's getting famous, and she started this internet radio station. God literally told her to do it, and it's supposed to be only women, and only women of power. And if you're spiritual, the more the better. And I'm like, woo! So, I mean, if you guys ever want to hear 100% positive programming 100% of the time, all day, every day, awoptalk247.com is the place to do it. Amazing Women of Power is what AWOP stands for. Well, I mean, and I'm not part of them anymore. I don't pay it was, I don't remember, $100 or $50 a month or something like that. And it was just for 4 shows a month, and that was it. And I had to find my own everything. It was crazy. And it was only a 30-minute show. So now I'm doing 7 hours plus per week. And before I was doing 30 minutes a week. And so I have a much bigger workload, and yet I have a lot more energy to do it and get it done. And I've had this massive awakening over the years since I started it. And I really feel that when we are going through our spiritual awakening, the more we lift ourselves up, the more we lift up those around us. When I was in Lima, when I first heard of this, nobody I knew any of it. They were just like looking at me like deer caught headlights, you know. And even when I make an announcement publicly on Facebook among my family and friends, I'll say something about the Ascension, and I might get like, I don't know, I think like I have 1,000 people or something, and one will like it, and it's like, that's weird. It's like either nobody is seeing my posts, or there's literally only one person who knows I'm not 100% batshit crazy and that this is real. Or maybe they don't even totally understand it either. You know, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's someone from a foreign land who I have never met in person, who met me through somebody. And I think he is very spiritual. So I don't know. He might have met me through a tweet and then added me from there. I don't know. I have a lot of friends like that. Just randomly people add me and just say, hey, you're spiritual like me, and you believe like I do, and I'm not religious either, and it's hard for me to talk to people where I live. So then, you know, I became their friend, and, you know, and that's been happening. But right after I learned about the awakening, I ran into this guy that I had been seeing like a lot. And this guy is one of my very, very best friends. I may try to have him on the show at some point in the future. But Paul Urquieta, let's see, I'm looking at a piece of his art right now. Yeah, Paul Urquieta, sorry, I put a Z in there accidentally. Paul Urquieta. I'm looking at a picture of what he painted this, and nobody ever wanted it. And the more I start talking to him, he goes, "Oh, this one I painted it for you." I just remembered. And this is like the day that we first talked, and the painting is a extraterrestrial, like a gray, with his third eye opened, and the third eye is an amethyst color, and he's popping through like a portal, and all around him is bright neon yellow energy, and around that is orange energy, and all these like waves of energy, and part of the waves are like just like circular spirals. And then within all of that is a bunch of red mushrooms with white spots. And this is before I got my tattoo of exactly this kind of mushroom. And there are, now that I'm looking, there are 11 of these red mushrooms. Remember, we've been going through 1111 quite a bit. So, in octaves of 11. That's kind of been the order of the day for the past week, right? So, because of all the stuff I've been going through, you know, I was out and about, and I went to go see my boyfriend. His name was Renato, and I went to see Renato, and Renato means newborn, newly born, or reborn, born again, but it means like someone who's lived other past lives, which is ironic because I knew him and recognized him from a past life. He was my last karmic relationship that I had to take care of before I meet my twin. So it was all okay that I met him and went through the weirdness with him. He didn't abuse me, but he did a lot of weird mind messing with my mind, trying to gaslight me, you know, not believing anything I told him about some stuff that was going on in the neighborhood. He didn't believe me. I'm not going to get into it here. It's like really crazy and negative, but it's going to be in my book when I write my book on Peru. I'll let you guys know when that happens. But anyway, so I'm walking around and I met this guy, Paul, and I'd finally met him. I had seen him many times in Lima. And if you ever go to Barranco in Lima, which if you go to Lima, definitely stay in Barranco, or in the center at 1900 Backpackers Hostel. I mean, it's a hostel. 1900. Literally, it's my home away from home. If you mention my name to the manager, he's going to know me in 2 seconds. Probably most of the people who work there know me. Even the janitor, but he calls me Pancha or Panchita, which is for Francis. It's like a nickname for Francis, and the whole thing is weird, but he's Pancha, so he called me Pancha because my real name is Francis, like his name is Francis. Anyway, I had seen him in Bronco, Paul, and we were like, the first time I saw him, I'll be honest, I'd been smoking a lot of weed. I think I might have even been drunk, and I was hungover, and I went to a Starbucks, and I just was sitting there drinking my coffee with my oldest, and we were just sitting there, and this guy comes by with the most insane bicycle you've ever seen in your life. It was half bicycle, half side of the road type of cart, but the way that it was made, it was really weird. I'd never seen anything like this in my life. And this guy is like pushing this bicycle, and on the bicycle in front was this huge cart, and on the cart there was like a little roof that hung over, but these poles coming up from a cart, and it was like a table. It was covered in purple cloths and pink cloths and all kinds of colorful cloths, and hanging all around the sides was the most incredibly beautiful art I've ever seen in my life. He had a bunch of dream catchers. He had necklaces and pieces of jewelry and crystals and the most incredible, I mean, the art was like mind-blowingly psychedelic. And I mean, like, he's got a sense of humor. Like, you know how if someone's going to make a scene of like bunny rabbits in a field, they're just rabbits in a field. Well, his rabbits would be like having sex, or they would be smoking a joint or eating psychedelic mushrooms. And then they have like a dream coming out of their head of what they're seeing, like rainbows and unicorns and whatever. Or he'll have like a rabbit with a unicorn horn. Like, his stuff is really beautiful and incredible, but also really, really, really trippy. So I just looked at him, I'm all, hey! And he's all, what? And then my Heyoka comes out, and I freaking start heckling him. I'm all, I wish I had a bicycle like that. And I started laughing, and he burst out laughing, and he just kept going, and he kind of winked at me. And it wasn't until like 6 months later, maybe longer, it's like a year later, is when I finally, after my breakup, I ran into him. And I'm like, I'm sorry I heckled you. And he's like, no, I thought it was hilarious. And well, he and I became fast friends, and we realized we know each other from somewhere else, another planet probably. And he says, well, you know about the new age, right? You know that we're ascending, right? I went, oh my God, thank God. Thank God you know about this. So he became my friend in Lima, my contact that I knew. And he was like, well, I'm glad you woke up, because I have no one else to talk to about it except his girlfriend, who was very awake. And I may have him talk about her at some point. She was, God rest her soul, one of the most bravest, amazing, beautiful people I've ever met. Well, actually, I never met her. That's so weird. I think I met her, but I didn't. I think I met her in spirit. In fact, when she was dying, her spirit reached out to me and said, Paul needs your help because I'm going to go now. And I wanted to come and say goodbye to you. And she gave me a hug and a kiss. I think it was a dream I had. She gave me a hug and a kiss on each cheek. And she just hugged me so much. And she's like, you know, I love you, sister. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you while we're here, but I'll see you in the next realm. And I'm like, awesome. And I woke up and I sat up and I went, oh my God, I need to get in touch with Paul. And I wrote him, and he's like, she's dying in the hospital right now. So weeks and weeks and weeks go by, and an angel came and said, it's time. you need to contact Paul. And I picked up my phone and I started to write to him, tried to text him. And he wrote me and said, she's gone. I'm like, I was just writing you. The angels told me. So, he was a special person. He is a special person. And he's continued his work. He actually built that bicycle and started doing art and jewelry and painting and all that, because when he met his girlfriend, she had a rare disease, and it was a condition she knew she was definitely going to die from. She was in her 20s. She's in her 20s when she died. And he was just traveling from Brazil, and he didn't even speak Spanish. He only spoke Portuguese, and he spoke a little English, and he learned Spanish so that he could learn to talk to her. And he got an apartment, and he said, screw it, I'm going to live in Peru. As long as you're alive, I'm in Peru. And he took care of her, and he did everything for her. And she was super weak. She had no more family. She was all alone. And I think she might have been homeless and not eating right even when they met. And so he provided for her and they didn't marry, but he became like a husband for her. And they'd sit on the beach on the good days and meditate. And that's all she wanted to do, is know God and meditate. So I think that she probably touched the lives of everyone. In fact, when she died, she was sitting up in the hospital bed in a lotus position with her hands on her knees facing upward, and she was smiling and focusing on her third eye and her crown chakra, possibly her eighth chakra. She was doing this intense meditation and left her body consciously like a true spiritual master would, and changed his life for sure. And he changed my life, and he's still changing people's lives. And now he's putting blessings and love into all of his art to wake people up. And maybe when 100 people have his art, maybe all of those people will wake up. Maybe his art creates the 100th Monkey Effect in that area. Everywhere I walk, I imagine that I'm blessing all the people, all the animals. I'm saying, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. I'm saying hi to every blade of grass. I'm saying hi to all the trees. I'm saying hello to the clouds. Saying hi to all the unseen, invisible fae folk in all the ethereal realms that are all around us all the time. And I'm telling everybody silently, we're ascending. We're ascending. Come with me. Let's go. God bless them that they ascend fast with me. God bless that little kid who's crying, and God bless that man over there who's peeing on a tree, and God bless that woman who's pushing a baby in a stroller and has one on her back. God bless that woman selling the fruit on the corner. Like, everywhere I go, that's like constantly my thing, I tell everybody, I love you. I see the God in you, and I tell God, please bless this person, bless this person, bless this person, bless this person. Like, everywhere I go, I want to create that 100th Monkey Effect. I want to create that. And so a few days ago, God told me, well, why don't you read The 100th Monkey? I'm like, I don't know if I should read the whole book. So I started to read the whole book from the very, very beginning. There is no copyright on the book, according to Ken Keyes Jr. himself, even though there is a Library of Congress number and an ISBN number. And you could look it up to read the whole book about nuclear war and all the horrors and bad things that nuclear wars can cause. And I don't know if you want to know the gory details of that, but if you want to read the whole book in its entirety, you can get a PDF for free online, or you could buy it off of Amazon. And if you ever reproduce it, as long as you produce it in its entirety, that's all he cares about. But I just wanted to read an excerpt tonight to give you guys this. If you've never heard the story, it's a great story, right? There's even a 100th Monkey Cafe on the corner of 5th and Ivy, or 5 and I, as they call it, over in Chico, California. One of my most favorite places in the world is that corner. Every business in that little section of Chico is just amazing. And it's downtown, and a bunch of houses that are, 50 to 100 years old. Chico's a cool place. It's not my place anymore, but it is a very cool place to be. So, I don't know, guys. What are you doing to create the 100th Monkey Effect? what's happening in the world? I mean, is it 144,000 that become awake and aware and alive and then the rest of us go? Or is it the second wave, the second group of 144,000? I think I'm in the second group. And I know there's only 3 waves. So I think in the third wave, at the end of the third set of 144,000 people, that might be our 100th monkey. I'm going to add that up right now. I don't even know how much that, opening my calculator right now. I'm going to look that up because you know what? How many people is that? Or are, yeah, okay, see, 144,000 times 3. 432,000 people. That's probably the magic number, isn't it? I know 432 hertz. Is that that might be what the heart chakra in general frequency puts out. If we're awakened, that we might have our hearts vibrate at a higher rate. I have a feeling that 432 hertz might be that. I know that's special somehow. In fact, I'm going to look up the angel number of that, because what if that might be something really good, right? All right, guys. Right at 39 minutes and 39 seconds, I had paused it. That's what I was on, 39. Okay, 432. This is a message, the angel message for 432. Trust that you're accurately hearing trustworthy divine guidance from your angels and the ascended masters. The guidance may come in the form of feelings, ideas, visions, or signs. That might be how we're all waking up. Makes sense, right? So, I don't know, guys. How are you bringing about the 100th Monkey Effect? From the story, it's not all the parents are going to listen. Some do. I listen to my kids. Sometimes it takes me a while. I am stubborn, after all. What self-respecting Irish woman isn't stubborn? But to be honest with you, it's 1:44 a.m. as I'm saying these words. 1:44 a.m. Here's another 44. Probably going to stop this on 44 minutes, to be honest. But so, right. You got to just keep telling people. Doesn't have to be your parents, because they may not always listen. If they don't listen right away, tell your children. If you don't have children, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Go online. Just every now and again, just a little bit, drip, 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 drop, just a little bit. Just a little bit here and a little bit there. Put one piece of straw, one piece of straw, one piece of straw. Eventually, you'll break that camel's back. Don't actually break an actual camel's back, because they're very cool creatures. But so, what are you going to do to bring about the change in this world? The end, the final death blow has been dealt. It's official. Starting on April 1st, tomorrow, April Fool's Day. Know what the fool does? It looks like he's getting ready to step off a mountain, and he has not a care in the world. And he's smiling because he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know where he's stepping. But he knows that he's always supported by the divine energy that surrounds him. That's why in the Fool card, the sky is not blue, it's gold and white. It's like a gold that's so pure and beautiful that you can almost imagine the packets of white light in it. The sun itself is white in that card, in the Rider-Waite deck, is it not? Because the sun is normally yellow, the sky is normally blue in the third dimension, but in the fifth dimension, maybe it's different, right? Maybe sometimes the skies look very, very golden. There's clues everywhere you look, especially in the tarot. And I just gave you a huge one because the sun in the tarot is a portal to God, to the higher dimensions. And that is why the Fool is happy. And we just ended the schematic. Tonight, it's over. I did it. Tomorrow is a brand new dawn. It's a brand new day. Welcome to the 5th dimension. Welcome to your heaven on earth, and welcome to your new world. Okay, guys, well, that's all I have to say about that. I love each and every one of you. But now I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Welcome to heaven on earth, guys. Until next time. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.